about other people.
Will never be known as just somebody's boyfriend. Camarado, not to ever be called a body guy. And then there's a go-go.
In the UK, I'm a household name. I'm mainstream, baby. Look at me. I'm a star. The British people, they follow me. They cheer every punch. I'll do Subway commercials for business and I knock people out for pleasure. But this ain't Great Britain. This is, shitty America. And all you silly Yanks, you're gonna learn soon enough. The hard way.
Cody, this is my factory.
We are back, All Elite family, for another exciting edition of the All Elite podcast. AJ, this is my bleeping podcast, all right?
Yeah, what did he say? Did he say my shitty factory?
No, he obviously said the F word, AJ.
Yeah.
My fucking
on.
Factory?
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think it was censored on the stream I was watching, on the TNT drama stream.
Oh, they dropped it on that one, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's
I guess they'd be allowed to. It's on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, they had like no expletives on like stream for some reason. So
yeah, it was last night was pretty expletive filled too. There were some that were bleeped out and some that weren't, so it was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it was all right episode of Dynamite. We will get into Dynamite here in a minute. I gotta fix Jonny D's video. There we go. All right, yeah. But before we get into that, how you guys doing? Jonny D is back with us once again to discuss Dynamite. Happy to have you here. How you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good myself.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And how about you, AJ?
I'm doing fine. Nothing's happened though. Like I don't have any cool news about AJ going on. I'm making a movie still, but that's gonna be in the summer, so hang tight.
Looking forward to it, man. I mean, I haven't done much fun this week either. All I did was have a couple of teeth yanked out. That's why we didn't have a podcast on, what was it, Tuesday? Yeah, I got my wisdom teeth pulled Tuesday morning and just didn't think I could make it. I mean, we probably could have attempted a show, but I would have looked goofy. It would have sounded goofy, so... We're back, though. We're back. I'm healing up pretty well, so can't complain too bad. Only shitty part is I'm eating a lot of mashed potatoes and applesauce, so fun stuff. But let's get into some interesting AEW-related content, shall we? Let's talk about it. The ratings, man. I should have played the sad theme song, AJ. We've got the sad theme.
Oh, yeah, we lost the war.
We lost the war. NXT has won.
Last point wins.
Last point wins, 768,000 for NXT last night, 688,000 for AEW. Dang. It's over. Yeah. We concede, right? Like
it's over. We lost. It's fine.
We gotta move different nights.
Yeah.
I'd like losing. It's funny. So let's just say we lost the war and give it to NXT, and that can be their like trophy after, because they went through the hardship, really. NXT fans
for months. They did get a solid show last night, though, and it makes sense. Like when you're comparing a Takeover versus a Dynamite, what do you expect? So
yeah,
it's expected.
And I heard it was fantastic. I'm actually gonna go watch it after we do the podcast because like I heard it was really fucking good. Like not just like one match, but like a few matches.
Wow,
so.
Dude, you're a fake AEW fan. You can only watch one.
Fuck
you know?
AEW.
Can't go watch NXT right now, dude. But no, I actually tuned into some of Takeover last night because it was pretty good. I watched it after Dynamite. Don't worry, but I was. Right after Dynamite, I hopped right into Takeover stream just to rewatch what had happened. So, yeah, they had a good show on, so I'm not surprised about the rating. Overall, it is what it is. I don't think AEW tried to compete at all. I think they almost tried the opposite, where they just didn't give much of anything this week, knowing that they might not have. And they did it. They did a big story at the end, so I guess they did stuff, but it just wasn't that big of a week.
They didn't even really advertise that they had Mike Tyson until that night.
That was weird. Yeah, I didn't even know he was going here.
It made me feel like that was the only point of them competing at that point. Like on that morning, I was like, or it might have been a night before, or a day before, where they had announced it, and I was like, are you trying to compete? Because it's kind of late for that. But I felt like the Mike Tyson.
Yeah, imagine you just promote Mike Tyson for like a couple of weeks ahead of time. Like I think last time they promoted him weeks ahead of time. So
I think that might have just been something that had come together quickly. And they wanted to bring him back and wanted to announce it. And it also, they ran some fighting show last night, an MMA show right after AEW, so that might have had something to do with it, just to draw in fighting fans. But comparatively, because we lost the war, we've apparently lost Chris Jericho. He's going to do a Stone Cold interview. He's crossed the line. He's out of here. If AJ's a fake fan for watching NXT, I don't know what Jericho is for doing an interview on WWE's
No, dude, Jericho opened the
so.
real Forbidden Door.
What do you think of this? Johnny, what do you think of Jericho's interview? You going to be tuning into this?
That's something I'm interested in watching. I already know they dropped Sammy Guevara, his name like on the WWE Twitter. So it's pretty interesting that they might actually cover AEW there. So
it seems like they're gonna, because how could you not? If you're talking to Chris Jericho after like a lapse period of not talking to him, of course he's gonna talk about AEW. It's bound to come up. So I don't know why they're doing it, but cool.
It kind of works out for both sides. It's not really on a WWE platform. I mean, it is going to be on Peacock, which is through them. So it is, but it's not. But overall, interesting thing. Tony Khan had kind of mentioned about how it came about randomly, and he didn't even really know what to think about it initially. But because it's paired with Stone Cold, of all people, that's kind of why he went with it. So, yeah, I thought that this was a pretty cool story. It's a pretty interesting thing. I will 100% be tuned into the interview.
Definitely.
So that's where it's smart. Like, you want to get people into Peacock and checking out that network, and you guys transitioning over there. This is a good way to get people like us who might not have looked into it. And I'm going to try to find it online where I don't have to get Peacock. But yeah, exactly. If you've already got it, it's a good way to get people over there into what WWE's transitioning to, though. So I thought it was smart, pretty cool. Better Stone Cold news than, did you guys see anything about Brian Pillman Jr.'s idea for Stone Cold to be the Varsity Blondes manager, but he would be a wrestling coach with a whistle, constantly whistling at them. And Stone Cold has yet to respond back to that text, apparently. So
Aww.
I can't see why not. Maybe Jericho's trying to bridge that gap here. So
wouldn't be surprised if it happened next week.
And another interesting note from this week's Dynamite, actually, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. Apparently 72 total talent appeared on tonight's Dynamite. This is just wrestlers and managers. Doesn't include the referees or any of the other on-air talents. Just the wrestlers and the managers. What do you guys think? This is a lot of people on one night.
It's a lot of people, and it's probably too many. But also, like, I don't know if that's the norm or if this is an anomaly.
I think so. Johnny, you're a little bit more newer to watching AEW, or you've gone and come back. How do you feel about taking in this many talent on one night? Did it feel like too much? Like you really didn't?
No, not at all. It's because they've been switching over to more factions lately. It seems they've been building more factions, so it makes sense. Like, it just makes sense to me. Like, because they have Dark Order, they have Matt Hardy's group, they have their Taz's group. The Christian might start a group. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Pinnacle, Inner Circle. They had all these Young Bucks and Bullet Club. It's just all these factions going on right now. It's it makes sense. Everyone's paired off with somebody right now. They have an ally. It's just the way AEW's been building up lately. Nightmare Factory's in 2 factions right now. It just makes sense. Because the way they've been booking. But
I agree with you. Initially, when the number on the surface level, you're kind of like, holy shit, that's a lot of people. How are you going to get anybody over? But when you guys start mentioning
that makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and I do feel like we are still getting quite a few people over, even if they're just being featured for 30 seconds at a time. We're definitely getting people over, even though there's so many people on TV last night. So I don't see an issue with it either, especially as you bring that perspective to it. So. Blood and Guts, Wednesday, May 5th. That is officially announced. What do you think? Johnny, were you watching AEW when they had announced the initial one they were supposed to do last year?
Yeah, they were. I was watching because then COVID happened. I was watching right before COVID happened, and then it was this happened. They had Stadium Stampede instead. Unfortunately, COVID changed plans, but this should be a pretty cool blood feud match. They've been building it up past couple of weeks, and I don't know how they're going to keep on keeping the steam because they've been going really fast with this storyline. But should be a pretty bloody. I don't know how to say it, but it should be it's Gang Warfare, and it should deliver. I assume.
What do you think about it not being on a pay-per-view?
That's just how they've been booking lately, though. They've been booking the pay-per-views every 3 months now, or every 2 months.
Blood and Guts wasn't on a pay-per-view either, the original one, right?
No, Stadium Stampede was on. Yeah, Blood and Guts was supposed to be on TV too. Yeah, yeah. It's just they book shows they try to deliver pay-per-view shows once in a while rather than all pay-per-views. It's a different model than how I'm used to watching WWE. So it's just how AEW does things.
It also makes sense considering that they're going to different nights with NXT, and so if you want to break that million barrier pretty soon in, then that's
A month down the
Like,
line, yeah. A
yeah.
big match to do it with. I like it. I think it's a great idea because especially with a match like this, you utilize a lot of talent in one match. So when you don't have it on the pay-per-view, each one of them can then get into whatever they need to get into on the pay-per-view. We could still see them involved in title matches or whatever. So that's why I like it being on Dynamite. And, of course, I like that they have the booking style of AEW where they recognize, okay, we do pay-per-views once every 3 months. How about we do a big Dynamite every month or every couple of months at least? And now we see where the next one is on the horizon, just a month away, and that's only a couple of weeks ahead of the next pay-per-view. So I think that it's a really solid way to book it too. But it was something that I found intriguing, like doing this type of match. I don't think you would ever see a specialty match like this on an episode of Raw, do you?
No.
We've seen cage matches, but never like Hell in a Cell or
not
Chambers, nothing like that on Raw.
Yeah.
Not the big boys.
So it's definitely interesting and a smart time to do it, especially if they're going to be getting out of Daly's place soon. I know that this is going to take up a lot of space, so once they start traveling again. And that was something they had also announced. People were speculating they might be back on the road as soon as June, but they've started to move those June shows to August now. So definitely won't be the end of June when they'll be turning. They'll still be in Daly's place at least through the foreseeable future. So probably till August, I would imagine. Maybe the fall.
Yeah, I'm going to guess it's going to be around... I'm probably going to guess the fall, just because it seems like by the fall everybody will be vaccinated. And also, because like just being vaccinated doesn't mean everybody's going to be comfortable going to a big arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they're still testing out like live events. Like that's why they're still like they're trying out the house shows again in Jacksonville still. So they're just doing a test run and before they go fully commit to going on the road again.
And I think they're just willing to let everyone else kind of do it first and see what happens. Like because it wouldn't really be worth it to go on the road and then have to go all the way back to Jacksonville and kind of reset. So I think it's smart, and it's just definitely interesting and pretty clear. Like because they had one of the shows was lined up in Texas, so with Texas opening wide back up and them rescheduling that to August, you could see they're not just going based on the guidelines of the states that they're going to run. They're waiting for everywhere basically to open up at least where they can function their regular touring schedule instead of having to do funny stuff with it. So makes sense. The Young Bucks have threatened to delete their Twitter once again. I thought this was funny because we obviously knew what it was about, but Big Joseph, our boy in the chat, was like, what happened? Was Dynamite that bad that they're upset? And I was like, nah, it's just the storyline, bud. But it is funny to see how fans react to the Young Bucks threatening to delete their Twitter.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. I was scrolling through it earlier just for fun. A lot of people were very upset, and a lot of people were like white knighting, being like, they can say what they want. And it's like, obviously, dude.
Yeah, I didn't read the thread, but I just figured they were working the fans when they said that. So
for all of 5 seconds, they got me where I was like, what the like again? And then I was like, oh, duh, this is the gimmick. I'm a mark. Like, this is great. So I thought it was pretty awesome. And it's funny that because they did that in the past, because of an actual situation, they can kind of reutilize it. So. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Also, last little bit of news. They have another internet show premiering tomorrow. They'll be running a show called Outside the Ring. It's going to premiere on Friday. This will be hosted by Lexi Nair. She does some backstage interviewing for AEW. She also hosted some of the Control Center videos they did early on AEW Dark. And she will be interviewing Abaddon this week. So Abaddon was 100% in character. Not sure how this interview is going to go. But it's an interesting concept. I'm glad they're doing something that's not just another wrestling show online. But
yeah.
There's a lot of AEW content. So what do you guys think? A lot, too much? Not like
I
don't want to say not enough, but
I would be upset if it was a wrestling show. But because it isn't, I'm fine with it. Like we need more of that. Honestly, less of the wrestling.
There's a lot of content on AEW, so I'm kind of like worried about like, hey, people aren't going to be able to watch this, but as long as they're getting like characters over, like they have a platform to do that, they may as well. Like they have BTE, but I don't know if Abaddon's appeared there, but like it's a way to get characters that aren't like actually.
She would be a great character for one of those vlogs too, and I think that they just need to do a good job at setting up their website to where they can sort of have each thing in one spot where you can go find it, because not everything is on AEW's YouTube channel. Some stuff is on AEW on TNT, some stuff is on the Young Bucks, some stuff is on Sammy Guevara's. It varies, so you can't even just follow one channel and get everything. You kind of just gotta hope you get everything. Whereas if they had essentially an AEW network, if you will, but even just a centric spot on their website that had all the YouTube videos just displayed, like that would be nice, because then you would know what you're looking for, you would know what to find. Maybe you could find Dark from previous weeks, like stuff like that would make your life way easier, because sifting through YouTube, especially the way that that website is set up, like it's meant to pull you to other stuff. So you might watch 1 or 2 AEW videos, but it's meant to pull you to other shit. If AEW had one platform on their site where you could go, okay, I want to watch, and maybe just a channel like A or TNT or TNA has on Twitch, where it's like on ongoing running stuff. Like if you just were running this stuff all day, where I could play it in the background and have it just running, I would be fine with that. So
Yeah.
It seems like the perfect way to handle it. I don't know why it's not like that at all. Because like you mentioned, there's like 4 different channels. Like you even forgot like Matt Hardy's. Like he has a lot of character work there too. It's just it's hard to get it all unless you subscribe to all of them at once.
Exactly. And I'm not even saying that they should try and bring it in and upload it themselves, like just because you can just hyperlink or whatever, or embed the videos from YouTube, so that way they're still monetizing. Because I think it's cool that each talent can monetize from these videos, and it shouldn't be under just AEW's umbrella. But if you do have it on that website where everyone can find it, boom, it's perfect. It's kind of the best case scenario there. So I'm surprised like no dirt sheet site has tried to do that or anything. Like just here's all the videos that for this specific
We could do that, man.
Yeah, you could do
You
that
know what I
actually.
mean? Like,
you should do it. It's a good idea.
It is. So might be something we have to do just to help people find everything, because there's so much there. But that covers everything we had to cover in terms of news. That was pretty interesting stuff, I thought. Go ahead, jump into Dynamite. Let's talk about it. They opened the show right up with the Inner Circle, showing up in some neat cars. I thought this was a cool little intro. They've been doing stuff like this the last couple weeks to just make people look cool.
Yeah, they look like rock stars, man. Like so it's just like
Yeah. It gave me like Evolution vibes. No, I loved it. That was great.
I didn't think of
they should
Evolution
do
at
more
all,
cool
though, which
shit.
I think is cool. Like with you mentioning that, 100%. But I didn't really think about it until you said it. Like they kind of just had their own aesthetic built into that, I felt like. So
Yeah.
I didn't see Evolution either, because I just thought they were like these really cool rock star guys are just arriving. So,
yeah.
but
Definitely
now that you
look
mentioned it,
badasses.
it looked cool too. Like it's Evolution vibes, yeah.
Yeah. Opened up the show itself with Hangman Page picking up a victory over Max Caster. He hit the buckshot lariat. He went for it once, but it was blocked by Anthony Bowens. He ended up hitting it a couple of seconds later. He also kicked out of a chain shot. He got snuffed in the face with a chain. I didn't love that part. I think that they've been doing a good job with this boombox gimmick and the heel stuff with Max Caster. Like, if you're going to have him do it, don't waste it type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
he just didn't have to do it. Otherwise, the match itself was all right. What do you think, Johnny?
I think they need Max Caster to win, honestly, as much as I like Hangman. Like, they've been building up Hangman. I guess they're just building up for Omega Hangman, like,
Yeah,
really down
I
the
think
line.
so.
So I guess, like, Hangman probably needed the win, but, like, it just felt like you hit the chain shot, it should be over. Like, they could have built a program off of that, at least. Just give Hangman something to do besides wait on the sidelines, you know?
Absolutely. I agree. I think that it could have given him something to do. Maybe, I mean, and it elevates that tag team immediately. A victory over Hangman, even though they cheated, even though they had to use like the weapon and everything to do it, it still just elevates them, gets them a really significant victory over someone. The Hangman beating Caster, like I kind of assumed that going in, but that's what I mean. Like you don't have to do that spot. Like if you just keep that, protect the spot if nothing else, where they can continue doing that going down the line. Because now I just know when they do it against big stars, it won't mean anything, but when they do it against Jack Evans, it'll mean something. So
I think the actual reason Hangman definitely the reason Hangman won is because if Hangman lost, Max Caster would be the #1 ranked wrestler for the title.
so give him a title match, dude, and let him lose. Like, that's what.
Yeah,
that's,
like, give him a shot.
I'm just saying I think that's why, because I think that like people would be like, what the, like they haven't seen him do anything on Dynamite.
They've booked the dude enough to where he's won so
You're
many
right,
singles
on
matches that like
Television and on Dark.
I
but
think he
not
even has
on-
1 or 2 singles on Dynamite, maybe.
He
so.
does, like 1 or 2, but like that's the thing. It's like 1 or 2.
Yeah, fair enough. But they're doing all right by him, so I'm not too worried about it. After that, we get a Death Triangle promo. This is interrupted by Orange Cassidy, which I thought was pretty interesting. Chuck and OC kind of talk about how they still remember what they did to them. They play the clips of it. Pac says, oh, you guys just want a shot at the future champions. We get it. The best friends say, yeah, we have to earn it, but they do have the most tag team wins in AEW history. Good little way to reignite a feud that I had literally forgotten about, but by reminding me with the videos and stuff, I'm not mad about
Yeah.
it. Like, it was a good job.
I liked it. I really like this matchup, so that's cool. And two, like you said, them reminding me of it because I had totally forgotten. Was good. And in Johnny's case, I'm sure it was great because
Yeah,
probably,
I literally left off like around when they were feuding. Like,
yeah.
So they brought it back up, and I was like, oh, I forgot because like COVID kind of ruined that storyline, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I remember Pac was away for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the biggest issue with that. So when they brought it up, I was like, oh, this is cool. I think they did a really good job with it. I thought the little hand thing that the best friends did with Chris Statlander at the end was super awkward, but maybe that was the point, like, just to continue to be awkwardly goofy. But yeah, I love what they're setting up here, so can't complain about it at all.
Did you hear that lady screaming during their entrance?
No, what was she
There was a
screaming?
lady screaming her head off, like just screaming at the top of her lungs for Orange Cassidy.
Jeez.
It's amazing.
He's a star now. What can you say? We get a Jericho promo. He's ripping apart the Pinnacle. He did a great job tearing apart MJF in this one. Briefly insulted Tully and FTR, but made them still sound really great, which I thought was awesome. Totally ripped Shawn Spears, which was my favorite part of the whole promo. They kind of went face or anti-face, you could say. That's what Zevo's been saying, anti-face, by mentioning that they have the fans behind them and they want to settle this with blood and violence, and that's where we got the announcement of Blood and Guts on May 1st. So I think Jericho had a great promo here. What'd you guys think?
I liked it okay, but like I also felt I know everybody's like, oh, it's Jericho's best promo. Okay, it sounded to me like he was doing stand-up comedy, like he was working on his tight 10, and he was like, and Shawn Spears, what's the deal with Shawn Spears?
There you go. That's your problem.
No, it wasn't the Shawn Spears thing. It was not that.
You.
It was, okay, that was part of it. But listen,
because he didn't even rip FTR that bad. He was like, they're the greatest, but you can't tell one from the other.
Yeah, he was like, I can't tell them apart, and I was like, that's probably should mention that because it's kind of true.
They didn't even rip FTR that hard. Like, I think it just makes Chris Jericho look blind, honestly, if you can't tell the difference. But
yeah, dude.
It was their new names. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And announcing with the blood and guts is perfect. So I thought Jericho was a great guy to cut this promo. I'm behind the people of like, this was a really, really great Jericho promo. But I was also in your shoes a couple weeks ago with the MJF one where I was solidly behind it. So I think that's funny.
I thought it was like it's not the Chris Jericho's best promo, but it solidly turned the whole entire group face, essentially. Like they mentioned, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I think
like,
in that regard, like, I think it did its job very well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like it failed in what it was trying to do. So, like I said, I like it fine.
He was just bullying my guy.
It just felt like QT's promo, like afterwards, was a better shoot promo than Jericho's. That's like the thing. Like, so when I compared it to, like,
fair point for sure.
Yeah. So.
We'll get
Mike
to
Tyson
that.
is a rat bastard too.
Jeez, dude. Jeez. We'll get to that. We'll get
there.
Christian, before we get to that, Christian was interviewed by Taz. Taz essentially just begging for this dude to join Team Taz. He's like, we need you. And he's like, we don't even need to answer this week. So how many people, well, I guess when he did this, it kind of worked last time. So what do you think?
I kind of like it because, well, I feel like it's going to be what Johnny said, where it's going to be like Christian forms his own group, like what you mentioned offhandedly earlier. Like, I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, yo, Christian, want to join the Dark Order? And, that we're going to bring that back. And we're going to have everybody trying to rally or, ally to Christian because Christian's big shit.
Going to choose the Varsity Blondes.
Isn't that was in the back with him? Definitely.
Maybe he starts his own group.
That's what I think is happening. Varsity Blondes and Christian and just like whatever rookies he can pick up.
That would make sense. That would be pretty cool. I think that would be a really cool thing, like having Christian as an on-air player coach type of role where, yeah, he's still really good and still wrestling, but he's also leading a bunch of young talent to potentially become the workhorse brand that he has. So I like it. The thing that is just funny about this Team Taz thing to me, it just feels like when Team Canada tried to get him to join them, and then at the end he like rips off the jersey and is not part of Team Canada. So it's essentially what I'm expecting to happen here. Like he might even get one of those Taz jerseys, put it on, rip it off, and he's just got an AEW shirt on or something. But yeah, this was cool. I like what they're setting up here, regardless. So, and there's a little bit more to it later. So,
at least we get to see like the meme potential of Brian Cage and Christian Cage together.
Yeah,
So-
you're right.
Yeah.
And that should have been Taz's whole freaking argument. That should have been the basis of everything for him. So it is cool to see like Taz trying to get Christian in the group and kind of it all makes sense. So yeah, we get Jurassic Express picking up a victory over Bear Country. This match wasn't the greatest. There was quite a few spots where I was just like, oh no, what's going on? The Jurassic Express picks up the victory after Luchasaurus drops Bronson with a chokeslam and a standing moonsault. This went about 10 minutes, but I didn't love it. You guys?
No, I didn't either.
It was kind of sloppy, but I like the powerhouse spots. Like I actually
Really?
liked the match, but
It was very violent.
yeah, but it was like very sloppy. It was like not perfectly executed, but it was like a bit. It was different from what they usually see on AEW. So I like seeing like the big guys work. So
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. And to that point, like I agree, but there was just enough sloppiness to this where it's like, man, just do this, just run this one on Dark, and especially because they attached a whole, not an actual gimmick, but just the sponsorship to it, I guess you would say.
The advertisement
Kong
match.
versus Godzilla thing, which
This was the company match tonight.
I thought was hilarious because we mentioned that movie offhand last week, but I don't feel like it was in relation to this, so it just made me
No, it
laugh.
was.
Was it?
yeah, it was completely unrelated. It was like the whole entire match was just like Kong versus Godzilla. The whole entire promotion was it. That.
It's owned by Warner, you see.
Okay, I see. So yeah, I mean, it was what it was. I think Bear Country still has room to grow. Obviously, they'll get better, especially as they get to be featured on Dark and Dark Elevation more. So it was okay. It was nothing too bad, but it wasn't the best. What was the best for me this week and what we opened up the show with was the QT Marshall promo. This I thought was amazing. Him just kind of ripping apart Cody Rhodes, called him the bargain brand Sting, which was great. Went over a bunch of other stuff, but then he talked about how Aaron Solo won't just be known as someone's boyfriend, Nick Camarado won't be known as just a body guy, and then essentially hands it over to Anthony Ogogo, who then cuts a really great promo himself, putting himself over as being some UK star, which I'm like, I honestly don't know if he's legitimately
that was
like,
the problem.
Yeah, I
that's
don't actually
cool.
know.
That's cool.
What I mean to say is, like this morning I woke up and went on Reddit and like it was like me as a British person having no idea who Anthony Ogogo is, and I just saw like a flood of like comments being like, yeah, same, never heard of him, or like 2 people knew he was like a boxing guy.
They've never seen him on the Subway commercials. That's fair.
No, I guess not.
That's
but
amazing.
it gets him over here, dude.
Yeah, it works, so it's fine.
I thought they had a solid promo here, though, and everybody looked great. Everybody seemed great. They could have done without the boyfriend thing, I think, for Solo. Like, I feel like you can do something else with that. But, I mean, it's legit, so it works, I guess. But, I don't know. I didn't need it. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I thought it was... Because I don't really know anything about Aaron Solo. You know a lot more than me.
Yeah, you don't know that he's Bailey's ex-boyfriend? That
No,
was
I
the
know
whole
that.
thing for so long? Get out of here, AJ.
Well, like
He looks
what I'm
great
trying
now,
to say
though.
is
Like,
I
I feel
don't
like
know a lot about him.
He's
That's
someone I've
the one
watched
thing I
grow.
do.
I've watched grow a long time where, yeah, and maybe that's where this does make sense, because when I first saw him, he was literally just like Bailey's boyfriend. I mean, like, he never really had much appeal to me. He literally, over the last couple of weeks especially, just something about him seems different, looks different, and I really, really like where they were going with him. So I like this group a lot, especially because QT is like my least favorite one of this group, and he's a great promo. Like, and I've been on the QT bandwagon for weeks, so it kind of works out.
Oh well, QT's like your least favorite of the group. That must say a lot because you like QT. So.
Yeah, so they're working out.
Yeah.
His look just kills me, like his hair, and it's not his fault. He's tried to fix it, but it just ain't working.
Yeah, he's not. He does not a
fantastic.
looker, but he's good at everything else.
And that's where it works. You know what I mean? So because when I watched him cut the promo, I was like, you don't look as good as the other 3 guys around you. Like, it drives me nuts, but it's still great. After this, we get a Sting promo where he is once again interrupted by Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer. I thought this was a much better job this time. Jake was still weird as hell.
About?
Jake was weird as hell. But Archer's part of the promo was great when Sting ripped the mic out of his hand and essentially just says, yeah, Archer, you're right. Like, you do have it. You should be a top guy. There's no reason you shouldn't be in the main event. Why don't you ask your boy Jake to show you how to get there and stay there? So this was phenomenal, I thought.
So fucking, I was like, Sting's about to bully my guy. And then Sting was like, you're my guy.
Yeah, right?
it was a really nice twist because they've been building us up like Archer's gonna fight Sting or something, but it was a really nice twist that they've been building up. So
for Sting to just pump him up, especially if this leads to Archer just going kind of on a tear. And there's quite a few people who you're like, man, this guy should be like in the top scene, but you can only have so many. So I hope this is where Archer gets that opportunity once again.
he deserves it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think they've booked it that way, so it would be cool. We go backstage with Team Taz. Ricky Starks wants to hear from Brian Cage after leading them to victory last night. But Taz is sort of sick of the instigating. He tells Ricky to cut the shit. Says they're trying to add Christian to the group and they need to quit fucking around. Well, that's not literally what he said, but that's basically what he said. And Ricky Starks is like, okay, I understand. But he was still mocking. So I thought this was fun. I think this is very interesting because it's not exactly what I was expecting. It's cool that Taz isn't an idiot, and we see that in AEW all the time where people actually recognize just regular stuff that kind of gets overlooked in other companies, where he's recognizing Ricky Starks is instigating the problem and kind of trying to shut it down. So who knows, maybe they still don't split, or maybe it's just Starks who splits now. It kind of adds in an extra element.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this is going, but because like you said, Starks could totally just split off himself, but I really feel like I don't know. My guess is that the whole team is going to disband.
There's no way they're going to split Taz from Hook, though. Like,
no, not with Hook. For sure, not with Hook.
Yeah.
He
like
could
Brian
stay
Cage
with
and
Cage.
Starks could.
I could see him staying with just Cage, and maybe they keep him with Cage and have Starks and Hobbs do something on their own, kind of, because Hobbs was kind of like a little hesitant to agree. He was kind of starting to stick up for Ricky for a second, and Taz was like, nah, this is how it is. And so maybe Taz's lifelong dream has always been to put Brian Cage and Christian Cage in a team Taz with Hook, the Cages and the Hooks. So I think that's what we're looking at here. Who knows? I mean, and I like that we don't know where this is going, especially with this week, what they've added on here. So, and I like kind of everyone in this group, and so wherever they go with it, I'm entertained.
Definitely.
We then got Darby Allin defending his TNT Championship against JD Drake. This was a 9-minute match that you never really questioned if JD Drake was going to win this one, but he still looked good at points, specifically in the second half of the match. Things really started to get going. So that's kind of the point of some of these TNT title matches, is just to let you see some of these lower card or newer guys and get a feel for them. That's how we got introduced to Ricky Starks and others as well. So,
from what I heard, this was kind of like from JD Drake fans online, that this was kind of like a weak performance from JD Drake, and that it doesn't really show you the full scope of what he can do. So apparently, like, that's bad news. I don't know. I thought he looked fine, but like to that end, I didn't think he looked great. So.
Yeah, I thought he looked all right. I thought like Darby sold really well. They missed on the camera commercial break. He had like a nice leg lariat, like in the picture-in-picture. Unfortunately, couldn't get that in that match. But yeah, it seemed like JD looked all right. But I don't know anything about him, so that's all I know about him is this match.
Yeah, I've seen him on Dark Elevation and sort of seen it, but maybe that's kind of his biggest downfall for me personally, is what I've seen with him on Dark Elevation hasn't been bad, but he's being paired with just the geek of all geeks in Ryan Nemeth and all the other, and Cesar, and so
Cesar Bononi.
That's not a good group of guys to be hanging out with. You know, you hard to take a guy seriously, but the match itself was okay. I can see what people are saying, and it probably not being his best showing, which is tough because again, when you're in these spots, you do want to have your best showing. Again, that's where we were clamoring for Ricky Starks signing. I feel like when his match had happened, so it wasn't bad though. Definitely nothing to complain about. I really like that they're kind of reinstituting that feel of the TNT Championship, because initially I was like, what is this match? This is ridiculous. Like, this is so stupid. But then I recognized, like, this is how we got to see Starks initially, and this is how we got to see Warhorse on AEW, even though I didn't love that. Like, so I like that they're getting back to the roots of the TNT title in some cases.
Yeah, it's a good way to bring it back, at least, like, because when I started watching, like, again, like, they mentioned that the title wasn't being defended regularly, so it's a way to showcase people that don't usually get the shot. So I hope more people deliver in future matches. Wasn't a bad one by any means, but just a
match.
Yeah,
so,
just a match.
After that match, he's attacked by the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny before the Bunny can clear the commentary desk so they could throw Darby through it, presumably. Sting and the Dark Order make the save, and Ty Conti goes and beats the shit out of the Bunny for a second. So the Dark Order running out with Sting. I mean, obviously they have issues with the Bunny and the Butcher and the Blade, but still an interesting group of people to come out together, I think. Sting's going to take over the Dark Order, brother.
AJ, you're muted.
Thank you. That would be fine with me, honestly. I don't expect it fully, but if it did happen, I'm not gonna be mad at all. That's cool. Let him take over the Dark Order.
The Sting Order.
Dad's home.
It would fit. It's like a natural fit, you know what I mean? It kind of just is almost naturally falling into place. They've been looking for Sting on being the Elite for months. Now he's here. They've got him. So, I don't know. This was cool. It's a good way to set up, obviously, the Ty and Bunny match later on in the show. And also Matt Hardy versus Darby, of course. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, it was kind of confusing that it was, kind of a setup because, they just, how did they get them off each other? Because she clearly had her cornered.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but makes sense. I guess it's necessary again. It's convoluted, but necessary.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, Chris Jericho is about to be interviewed, but the Pinnacle attack him. They've got the Inner Circle locked up in the back. They bust through the door, but they can't get through the door quick enough. And before they make the save, of all people to make the save is Mike Tyson. Iron Mike. He comes out and beats up Shawn Spears, which is exactly what we want to see.
No.
Beat up Shawn Spears every day, all day, Mike Tyson.
No.
Put him out for a 10 count.
Yeah,
No.
dude.
No, Shawn Spears is a good man. Mike Tyson is a rat bastard. He could have hit any of them. And he could have and Shawn Spears wasn't even doing anything.
He hit the right
He
guy.
deserved it. He deserved it.
No. He's a good man. I'm fine with it actually because that means Shawn Spears got to get beat up by Mike Tyson. How many people get to say that?
Yeah.
A lot, actually.
Enough. Yeah, they got knocked out.
But
he probably has it the worst because he didn't get knocked out. I don't know. Yeah, he got beat up by Mike Tyson.
Club,
That's
though,
cool,
is
I
the point.
guess. Yeah, special club. Maybe we'll get the match everyone's always wanted to see: Shawn Spears versus Mike Tyson. You know.
Yeah.
Dream match.
As long as he gets knocked out in 5 seconds, it is my dream.
No,
match.
Shawn Spears would win with the glove, dude.
Oh, you're right. This is the long-term booking, huh? It's that long-term booking again. So looking forward to that one. Britt Baker cuts a promo, just destroys the ranking system, says that it's so stupid. But I'm glad. I liked how she did it because she said it shouldn't depend on wins or losses. It should depend on popularity and quarterly ratings, which hard to argue with that type of thought process.
It's all true facts from Britt Baker tonight.
She says that she will pretend that the ratings are legit, though, and will work her way up by winning on Elevation and Dark and Dynamite, which I think is pretty cool. We'll probably see her just win 6 matches in a row and automatically be number 1 contender. So
Makes sense to me. And also what she brought up, it's been one of the big criticisms of the ranking system is Chris Jericho is usually in the title pictures, but he's not always ranked high because he's not wrestling all the time. So what she brings up is super legitimate. A lot of fan criticism from that, and that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues that
even if
people's
you
looking-
take into account the rankings and the TNT titles, just make absolutely no sense. In that
no
circumstance,
sense.
and then it depends. It varies from week to week and month to month as to what the rankings actually mean. I have almost forgotten about them for the most part until they're brought up because it means something but doesn't mean anything at the same time, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think that the counting wins and losses and everything that they do, I like it. I appreciate it. It just doesn't resonate in the ranking system the way I thought it would, which is it's very hard to do when you want to book wrestling the way that they do. So and it would be hard to do in general. So.
No, it's pretty much an impossible task. So like you said, it's cool that they do it, but I'm not holding my breath thinking about man, I can't wait till we used to actually cover the rankings, and obviously we don't anymore for the obvious reason that it may no.
That it means something when they want it to, but otherwise, and it's cool that they keep it going because for that point, you don't want them to just do it when they want it and that's it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just doesn't make all the sense in the world. So that's where Britt's promo is great, and she's going to make it make sense because she's about to win 3 matches in a week and then become number 1 contender, as she should. But she's going to have a tough trail there because Tay Conti, I believe, is ranked number 1 in the women's division, and she defeated the Bunny this week in singles action. This was a really fun match. I enjoyed this match quite a bit, especially because I was just not feeling the entire episode of Dynamite, and so being a Tay Conti fan and the match having some energy to it and being relatively good, I was impressed. I was enjoying it. So what do you guys think of this?
I think both of them look really good, and I think that's especially good news for the bunny, because like she was the question. Tay Conti's kind of proven that she can do it now. The bunny, like she's had okay matches, but this was like the first one that I can remember being like, oh, it was really good.
This is the only singles match I think I've seen from the bunny in AEW. So like I know she's really good. I have my friends say all these good things about her, like in her other runs in other companies. So I was impressed.
I think she had a match with Brandy that was not very good in AEW, but she's had like, and that's where I don't really know a whole lot about her because I've heard sort of the same type of thing that she's had good runs in other companies, but from what I've seen in her here wasn't as impressive. But this match was, and I think we got a lot more from the bunny just in terms of like even her character work a little bit like started to make some sense to me, like, oh, she's just supposed to, like, yeah, it's still she's just supposed to be a crazy person, but for a long time like she would come in the ring and like tilt her head and I just didn't get it. Now I'm like, oh, you're crazy, like, okay. So stuff like that. I'm glad that they're expanding on it a little bit. The right person won, of course, with Tay Conti winning, but they made it a little bit speculative, especially with the weapons getting involved and stuff. So, and I think they're definitely building to Tay versus Hikaru because I think they mentioned that Tay is like Hikaru's jiu-jitsu coach or something like that. So, her mentor. So, yeah, they're definitely building to a friendship versus friendship having to have a match type of thing. So, I like it. They gave the rundown for next week's card, and it looks great. So, I mean, and that's where it was another moment of me just feeling like they weren't competing at all this week, almost anti-competing, because not that this week's card was awful or bad. It's just, especially compared to what they're putting on next week and weeks we've seen, like, they could have went crazy and put on all types of matches and tried to be competitive and build this to be a big Dynamite, but they obviously chose not to, so.
Yeah, it felt like a whole entire build-up show, to be honest. Like when I was watching it, just like them putting forward a storyline, but not really caring about like delivering big matches.
As I'm getting used to AEW's booking style too, I don't really care about that anymore. Like, and it's not that I even overly cared before, but as I recognize, because over the past couple of weeks, I feel like me and AJ especially have been like, wow, this has been such a great Dynamite. This has been such a great Dynamite. Like, where is the filler Dynamite we got for so long? And now we got it, and I was like, meh. I knew this was coming. We just got some really great weeks, so, and nice of them to do it on a week where we could watch some NXT and get some excitement. So, but again, this week wasn't bad, especially with what they closed it out with Kenny and the Good Brothers picking up the victory over the Young Bucks and Mox. This after the Young Bucks have officially turned heel, I think, by super kicking Jon Moxley because they were too scared to attack Kenny Omega. Well, you would say so, but then Matt Jackson is trying to pretend to be a freaking crybaby in the center of the ring like he didn't want to do it, even though he did.
They always do the weird tweener thing with Young Bucks. So it's kind of like, it's like, I don't know if they're fully committing the heel, even though they should. Like, this should definitely be a full heel turn, but I don't know if they're even going to commit to it. That's the issue.
And the issue with that is, because I get it, because if you like the whole story, the whole scope of the story, like they're not just aligning with Kenny and doing exactly what he wants. Like this is begrudging. Like they don't want to do this, but at this point, what other choice do they have? Mox is essentially forced them into this position by destroying Kenny Omega, someone they have so much care for as a friend. They've already lost Hangman as a friend. They can't bring him back, but Kenny, they see it in a bad spot with Don Callis, and how else do you get him away from Don Callis than to stick with him through thick and thin? And with that comes this moment of them, like, helping him but not wanting to help him. So are they technically bad guys for sticking by their friend's side through thick and thin? I say yes, because they're still shits for what they did to Hangman.
They chose to do it.
Yeah, they chose to betray Jon Moxley, and like, it's a jerk. Jerks, I say.
They're bad guys, and I love them still. I know you don't, but
I love that I get to hate them openly now. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because like I don't know, I always loved the Young Bucks. They were like my guys going back to like 2010.
I saw one person on Twitter like commenting on how this is so dumb. They shouldn't do this. They shouldn't be heels. And then someone else commented and was like, I've been a fan of the Young Bucks for so long, and even I know that they suck as baby faces. Like this is the natural way for them, and I agree. And this is kind of a good way to do it. Like where they're not just jumping right in again to being bad guys, but slowly succumbing to that. I could easily see Matt just start becoming more and more shitty as the weeks go by, because now that he's locked in with Don Callis and stuff like that. I still don't even understand Nick's whole part of this, because they're very clearly to me is some sort of dynamic where one like, and I maybe Nick is more for being a bad guy or just doesn't give a fuck. Like Nick Jackson only follows his brother and that's it.
Apparently.
Like,
that's probably what's going on. I think like you mentioned, like Matt was like, you mentioned like 3 weeks ago, you're like, oh, Matt's the one that's deciding things. I was like, oh, you're overreacting. And no, it's just like Nick doesn't really care.
Yeah.
He's just doing whatever his brother does.
Do it, so, and I'm cool with that. I think that really they've got a great story here, especially if you've been following it for as long as it goes, because this can go back to even before AEW when Kenny's teaming up with Kota Ibushi and they're fighting the Young Bucks. So this can be like a long drawn out type of situation. And then you look at Kenny teaming up with Hangman and not wanting to attack the Young Bucks and their tag matches. Like the compellingness of this story goes a long way. But I think they've got to do a little bit more to help the average fan understand that, because the acting doesn't portray it as much as it needs to. And I don't blame the Young Bucks or Matt Jackson specifically for not being the best actor in the world, because that's not necessarily what he signed up to do. But everybody knows it, and so that's where it kind of hurts it a little bit and brings down the story part of it. And so they got to do something to re-emphasize it, even if it's just a video package reminding everybody of what's happened or something. Because then I think also it's probably lost on these guys, and they might not recognize it because they've been a part of it, is a lot of this stuff was also on BTE, where the fans don't know that, and a lot of fans haven't witnessed it, and these guys have lived it, so they're like, oh, of course people have seen it, like, and they see the hundreds of thousands of views, so in their mind, like, yes, tons of people have seen this, but not the whole viewing audience to really totally fully understand the story that they're trying to build here. That's where it's tough. When you have a story of that much depth, for some fans, they're not going to catch it all.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, it's like probably not translating to TV well. Even though, like, as a fan, I've known like what they've been through. So, like, when I was watching that match, like, oh, this would make sense if they turn. Like the week before, I was like, I was calling it, but it's like,
Lance Storm had tweeted about it and was like, I'm glad that they didn't just go with some stupid swerve and just follow the story. And yeah, that's the story. Like, even though it might feel, I guess, like a swerve because they turned on Mox, like, no one thought they were going to all of a sudden be aligned with Mox.
Yeah.
So,
no, like I had it in my head as the match was happening. Like, this match isn't ending like normally. There's no chance it can.
So,
I think it's like Mox said like a couple weeks ago. Like they better have live rounds, and the Young Bucks aren't going to have live rounds versus Kenny. They're not going to commit to it. So.
And that's exactly why he got upset about it. And so the story part of it, and then we have Kingston come out and try to make the save. And I think there was even a post-show promo. I don't know if it's hit social media, like, officially on AEW's end, but someone had posted it from the show of him just saying, like, this isn't over and they're going to get their revenge on these guys. So it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's a great storyline. I mean, this is, like you said, embedded really deep. So, like, there's no doubt about that. But, like, yeah, they could go for a video package or something.
Yeah, even before, like, the blow-off match or anything, like, we could go for a video package next week, just sort of breaking down why this happened to everyone. Like, because even though I know and I remember, like, it would just feel much more impactful to see it all in that format right away rather than waiting for it. So, yeah, I love the story part of it. It's a tough break for Matt Jackson that people just really aren't feeling the acting part of it. But I also can't discredit people who feel that way, because I pretty much felt that way. It's like really tough to, maybe he drug it on for too long or something, but however they went about it, like it just wasn't like a situation of believability. So
it's also a tough break for them because they've had like 3 major turns in the past like 3 to 4 weeks. So it's like they've been following up the MJF betrayal. The Cody Rhodes betrayal from QT. It's like they're following up, even though this is like also like, so it's like
that's a great point.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a bit oversaturation in the turning market for a lot of fans.
Yeah, I think that you're probably right, and so it is what it is. I think that it was a decent Dynamite. It was pretty solid. It wasn't the best Dynamite or anything like that, but I think they provided a really good show, and I think leading into next week could be even better. So definitely not a whole lot of complaints from me. It was almost interesting when I was thinking about 72 people being featured on this show, and not one, like Cody Rhodes wasn't one of them. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because he's a big deal.
Yeah, he is. You're right. Yeah, he really is a big deal.
I mean, it makes sense. You got written off, so.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It definitely makes sense. I was still just like, wow, so many people and no Cody. But it was a good show. Great Dynamite. I like what they're doing. I like everything that's been going on. We ran a poll last week after the latest stable was announced with QT Marshall, and asked if people think that AEW has too many stables, and it seems like people think it's just right, which I think is cool. Like, I'm glad that that's the consensus thought from pro wrestling fans, because even though this isn't super, like, it's not natural, maybe what you're used to in WWE or New Japan, it's kind of consistently like this, but
yeah,
if it's not what you're used to, I think it might feel a little weird, but I like it. I think that they're in the right spot with the amount of stables they've got going.
I agree. It's a lot of factions, but I mean there's no problem with that working as a concept.
Yeah.
A lot of factions make sense. You should always attach somebody with somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, you should always have somebody watching your back. Just makes total sense.
Yeah. I agree. So we had a solid week of Dynamite, covered the news, covered everything. Anything I'm forgetting this week?
I think there was a Jade Cargill and Red Velvet promo from Red Velvet.
You're good at this.
And I think they had Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page were reacting to Lance Archer's promo.
That was something interesting. I don't know if those guys are going to end up paired up with Archer, or maybe attacking Archer. I mean, maybe that's the idea. But I feel like they're definitely going to get involved with him in the next couple of weeks, just because how they were being focused on during that promo.
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, something's brewing there.
Like, it's probably form all three and be like, these guys were forgotten about. Like, I mean, Scorpio Sky was forgotten about. Ethan Page was but he's kind of still new to the AEW, but like, he was on 1 week and then he hasn't been on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the Jade Cargill Red Velvet thing, I'm excited for that match. I'm intrigued to see how that goes next week. I'm glad that they're going to pay it off relatively quick, because with these two at this point, especially Jade, it's like it's either make it or break it. She's already proved herself with a really solid match. If she has another solid match, it's just going to be on a great run for the women's division. If she falls short, I don't think people will be overly surprised, because that's almost what you were expecting from the first match. But it's kind of like, we just got to get it over with. So they're going to do a pretty solid match there between those two. I expect them to. This will probably be the most time Jade gets for a singles match, because most of the other ones have been like 2 or 3 minutes. So.
Yeah, and I didn't like Red Velvet's promo, by the way. I thought it was because she was like, you barely beat me. And I'm like, she beat you, though. It doesn't really matter. That's semantics.
It's kind of like... Yeah, I like Red Velvet as a person because I've seen her locally. So
Nice.
I hope her character work improves.
Yeah, I could understand that for sure. But so far, I'm interested to see where it goes. They got a lot on the slate for next week, so... I'm glad you remembered that, Johnny. You're the guy for those things where we're slipping up a little bit.
I forgot last time, like, for something else, like 2 weeks ago, so but probably missed something else.
Even Jonny D forgets. Yeah, so if we missed anything, let us know. Shoot us a message on Twitter. Let us know where we dropped the ball. But we got all the news, I think, that was important in terms of stuff worth covering. It's a great week for wrestling fans. There was all kinds of GCW stuff on today. Oh, I want to shout out Zevo. His game dropped today. His video game that he works on, so I want to give that a quick shout out. AJ, tell people about wrestling while I look for the video game.
Wrestling's great. I mean, come on.
If you guys could find 3 out of 10 on Epic Games, that's our boy Zevo's game. He helped put that together, and you can download it for free. It's like a sitcom-based video game, so I gave it a download. I'm giving it a play later on tonight if I get some time. Hopefully I get some time. I'm a busy guy, but I'm interested to check it out, so go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we'll be back on Tuesday running down some AEW. Like I said, lots of wrestling to watch over the weekend. There was Game Changer today. I don't know if Bloodsport was this morning, but Cass was talking about it. I know that Jimmy Lloyd's Degeneration F was this morning. I love WrestleMania week, man, especially with the indies that get involved in the collective when they're running literally all day long. and you could just watch wrestling all day. It's fucking awesome. So
Yep.
Nice.
make sure you guys check that out. Jonny D, you want to plug your social media? Let them know where to find you.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on social media, my Twitter account is Jonny D, no H. Yeah.
Good shit. And how about you, AJ?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
So consistent, my friend. I'm on Twitter at TooSweetElite. I'm on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. You can find the Facebook. You can find us on the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. We're also on Instagram at All Elite Everything and Twitter at All Elite Podcast. Like I said, we will be back next Tuesday. Till then, see you.
Bye.